Let's talk about the Galaxy Watch 6 here for a moment. Obviously, the Galaxy Watch 5, and in particular the 5 Pro, as one of my favorite smartwatches of all time, they were relatively well received. I don't think anybody really thought the battery life was stunningly good, though, right? So the regular Galaxy Watch 5, Samsung said about 50 hours of battery life. Most people I've spoken to get about a day and a half or so. Now, on the 5 Pro, you can definitely get a bit longer than that. In particular, if you go in and tweak some settings, you can have a multiple day watch with it. But now we have some reason to think that Samsung is actually going to be addressing the battery life on these watches going forward, because there are some leaks via some filings showing that the batteries in the upcoming Galaxy Watch 6 will be 300 milliamp hours for the 40 millimeter and 425 milliamp hours for the 44 millimeter, and that is up from 284 and 410 before. So granted, these are not massive gains in the size of the batteries. However, when you look at this via like the percentage increase, it's actually a lot more than you would think, right? When you initially look, oh, 16 milliamp hours isn't that much. But when we're talking about a 300 milliamp hour battery, that's actually a fairly significant increase. Now, unfortunately, there hasn't been any such filing found just yet for the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, which already had a very, very beefy 590 milliamp hour battery. That is why it is one of my favorite watches, because that thing lasts a really long time. If it gets a similar increase, it could actually go up over 600 milliamp hours now, which would be absolutely incredible to see. But we have to keep something in mind here. My other favorite watch of the last few years is the Mobvoi TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra. And we are about to finally get the sequel to that watch, the TicWatch 5. Yes, they are skipping the number 4. There are reasons for that. Moving on, the TicWatch 5 is coming very, very soon with a W5 Plus chipset, which is going to be a whole heap of a lot more efficient than what we had on these prior watches. And if you take what we already get in terms of battery life, this thing has that really cool dual layer screen where it's a little LCD screen that doesn't require any backlight. And then there's another screen that can turn on like a proper smartwatch. You give it all the cool stuff that it already has. This thing already gets 3, 4, even 5 days as possible if you turn off a lot of things, but just on normal settings. 3 or 4 day battery life is absolutely doable. And you give it a more efficient processor. In my mind, what Samsung is doing here is going to be necessary. Now, we don't know what kind of processor they're going to be running. They've typically used their own Exynos processors. I can find no rumors on that just yet. But hopefully whatever they do choose to go with can keep up with Mobvoi in terms of efficiency. Of course, that W5 Plus chipset is going to be in many other watches as well. It just so happens that Mobvoi also pairs it with a really, really big battery most of the time. Probably, of course, see this watch sometime this fall. Very excited to see what this thing ends up with. As like I said, the 5 Pro has been one of my favorites. Can't wait to see what the 6 Pro actually ends up looking like. Who knows? Maybe they'll do something crazy and bring back the rotating bezel. Doubtful, but that would be pretty cool to see. Guys, subscribe for more news just like this. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.